fait, on va parler que 10 minutes.
باش
نهضروا 10 دقائق.
في البداية كده بعدين نخش على فين حاجة بلاش هيبقى كده برزنتيشن هي اصلا باوربوينت لا اوكي كده صح
No, ¿quieres explicar el proyecto?
هو ده ولا لا
Vale, presento a los artistas.
مش فاهم
نزلوا زعما حيدهم كديروا
كده خلاص بعدين كده كده
بس
تبدأ بالمخرج
انا عندي
هيكون بنفس الميكانيزم فاهم نفس الميكانيزم الريفيو والسبيس تخرج منها في الفيشي ده بعدين
ممكن نديرها
بالتالي اللي يغير بس شوف صح
صلاح انت ما المفروض تكون معنا كان عم تحكي او
واي نوت
مبسوط مش مبسوط
طبعا انا اللي بتكلم اوكي
Hola a todos y muy buenas tardes. Gracias por venir a esta sesión de Rosoum, cómics árabes. Rosoum significa dibujo en árabe. Y bueno, voy a dar paso a la mesa redonda que tendremos a continuación. Rosoum es un proyecto que lo que implica es una residencia de 4 dibujantes y creadores gráficos en lengua árabe que les tenemos aquí con nosotros, que vienen del Líbano, de Túnez, de Egipto y de Casablanca. Estos 4 dibujantes han estado aquí durante toda esta semana trabajando en Barcelona y conociendo también a otros agentes de la escena barcelonesa y de la escena de la edición y del cómic catalana. Lo que finalmente saldrá de esta residencia, que se acaba mañana desafortunadamente, será un cómic, y mejor dicho un fanzine, y también una exposición que mañana se inaugura en la librería Fat Bottom a las 6 de la tarde. Así que lo que hoy hablaremos en esta mesa redonda será un poco pues, cómo durante esta semana entre ellos han conversado y han podido pues, establecer diferentes opiniones y cambiar impresiones sobre las formas de distribución y de producción de cómic y de novela gráfica en sus países. Deciros que este proyecto también, Rosoum, entra dentro del marco de Barcelona Producción, que es una convocatoria que se hace anualmente, que la convoca la Capella. Y este año pues, salió seleccionado este proyecto, cuyo comisario es Salam Aluli, que le tenemos aquí en primera fila. Y bueno, y por suerte salió, ¿no? Y aquí tenemos a los dibujantes con nosotros durante esta semana, porque la verdad que está siendo una semana muy trepidante. Así que os voy a dejar con Francesc Ruiz, que es el moderador de la mesa, que es artista, que como sabemos los que le conocemos está bastante especializado en el lenguaje del cómic, y él los presentará también a los 4 dibujantes que nos han venido a visitar. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Mary. Bueno, me ha tocado moderar y bueno, básicamente quería un poco introducir por qué estoy aquí. Sala me invitó a participar en esta mesa redonda, un poco conociendo mi vinculación y mis proyectos con el mundo del cómic árabe. Y bueno, voy a aprovechar esta vinculación que tengo para presentar a la gente de la mesa redonda. Aquí a mi derecha tenemos a Lena Merhej. Ella es la cofundadora de uno de los, digamos así, uno de los fanzines más, creo, de fanzines de cómic independiente más importantes, creo, bueno, el primero que empieza a publicarse en el mundo árabe. Ese fanzine se llama Samandal y yo entro en contacto con él por primera vez cuando me invitan a hacer una residencia en el Cairo, en el Contemporary Image Collective, y nada más allí en la biblioteca me dicen, mira, aquí tienes cómic árabe. Y me presentan, esto era 2010, y ya tenían ya una colección de varios Samandal allí, y me quedé fascinado realmente por la calidad de los autores y la cantidad de, bueno, diferentes estilos que comprendía la revista, ¿no? Y era fue para mí un poco, bueno, me quedé bastante asombrado del alto nivel de dibujo, pero además de la cantidad de diferentes voces que había allí. Entonces, bueno, ahora ha sido pues, realmente increíble poder compartir la mesa con ella aquí. Luego, mientras estaba en Cairo también, hice mi investigación, pues me puse en contacto con la escena que había de cómic allí, y la primera persona que me contactaron, que además formaba parte del núcleo también artístico de la ciudad del Cairo, era Shennawy. Esto era 2010, en aquel momento la escena de cómic no era se estaba formando, y fue justo que estuve allí al cabo de unos meses que publicaron su primer número de la revista Tok Tok, que además justo antes de la revolución, y que ha pasado a formar parte, bueno, se sigue publicando y es una revista de referencia y es un núcleo activo muy importante dentro de lo que es el cómic independiente del mundo árabe. Posteriormente me deriva en lo que es mi vinculación con el cómic dentro del mundo árabe. Me lleva a una invitación por parte del MACBA a desarrollar un proyecto en Marruecos. Es ahí donde conozco a Salam Aloli, y bueno, a raíz de ese proyecto, y es el que me hace ver toda la escena del cómic independiente árabe que se estaba gestando en ese momento, particularmente a partir de un fanzine que se llama Skefkef, en el que Mehdi Annassi es también cofundador junto a Salah Maloli y otra gente. Y es ahí donde Salah me empieza a llevar los primeros fanzines. Hasta el momento he publicado creo que 4. Y bueno, y aquí sabremos un poco más. Y es a partir de la invitación de esta invitación final, que finalmente conozco a Noha, que sale de Túnez, y allí desde creo que es 2013, que tenéis el fanzine Lab 614, que también está activando, digamos, todo lo que es el dibujo en Túnez. Y bueno, aquí coinciden pues 4 ciudades a partir de 4 agentes muy activos dentro de lo que es el cómic independiente, lo que es el cómic árabe. Y ahora a continuación ellos van a presentar, pero después cualquier pregunta que tengáis, vamos a discutir sobre qué es el cómic árabe, que es una cosa bastante que se puede hablar mucho y que tiene muchos matices, ¿vale? Y bueno, yo creo que doy la palabra a Mehdi y a ver qué nos va. Cada uno va a hacer una presentación corta de 10 minutos de su trabajo y de su vinculación con todas esas revistas que hemos ido diciendo.
Hello everyone, and thank you for coming. It's really a pleasure to share our experience with you and to share our what we do in our countries and welcome. So I will talk about a little bit about my experience and my career a little bit. So my career started actually at 2008, back in 2008, and it was I started working for Ubisoft. So it's a company, it's a multinational company that makes video games, and it was since 2008 until I was fired by the company in 2009, and yeah. So afterwards, I worked in another city for 2D animation. So I was doing traditional animation. You know, when you start drawing frame by frame to make animations. So I did that for like a year and came back to Casablanca and started working in freelance and doing concept art, working on applications and apps. And afterwards, I started working. I founded my own company with another guy, and we started making games for mobile games. So until now, it was really far from comics and what I do now. Also, from my work, you can see that I work in I try a lot of styles, a lot of mediums. So as I said, I started in video games. So you have character design, you have environment and concept art. And after that, I tried animation and I worked on it, and it was really cool. And it's one of my favorite jobs to do. And afterwards, and back in 2011, with Maluli, we tried to work on a fanzine. We tried to make something called a fanzine, but we couldn't do it. So we tried it and it didn't work. One day we traveled to Egypt and we met with these guys. He was there and the whole team was there, so we met them and so we learned about their experience. And that's okay if you get just a few guys together and they start working for a few days, you can make something called fanzine or a magazine that can be sold that has a following and all that. And so yeah, back in 2013 we came back to Morocco and we talked about it. And so you know, and decided that we will make our own magazine. And we invited Shennawy so he can participate with us for the first one. And yeah, and we called it Skefkef. So what is this Skefkef? It's actually very funny in the Moroccan dialects. Actually, it's a sandwich. It's a very cheap sandwich that is sold in Morocco, and nobody knows what's inside it because it's very cheap. It's like 20 centimos. It's very cheap, and it's sold for the poor people actually. And so yeah, we don't know what's inside of it, but when you taste it, it's really good. It's really awesome, and yeah, and that's actually the ideology that we have or the philosophy that we have in our magazine. It's a book that has random stuff, random things. You have illustrations, you have comics, you have texts. Sometimes you have slam or rap, and this combination makes what I know some things that we call it Skefkef. So how do we process to make a magazine? Now we are at our fourth number, our fourth issue, and so how do we start to make one? So we have the core team. It's like six people, and so we decide the theme that we will work on, and we decide on the deadlines and what we will do and when we will do it. Afterwards, we choose a guest from another country. Like for the first one, we invited Shennawy. For the other one, we invited someone from Tunisia and another one from Egypt afterwards. So and we invite them to share their process, their experience, and what they know what to do, and also that we can share with them what we know what to do. So it's like an exchange, and also it's a way to connect with all the experiences and all the magazines that maybe we can work together in other projects or something like this. And also we for each number we announce a call for participation and call for applications, and we receive a lot of applications. For example, we receive like 100 or 115, and we pick the ones that are fitting the theme that we are working on, and yeah, so we call them to basically to an artistic residency. And this is I think what makes us different from the other experiences, because we invite everyone to a place that we have, and that we work there for 7 days. So we get together, we start working, having fun, and brainstorming, talking about the issues, deciding each one what he will do. And after we finish the book, we make the book and give it to the printer. And afterwards we organize a day with a release dates, and it's basically an exposition. So we start selling on that day, and we start selling other goodies too, like posters or stickers. On the same day we have a performance of slam or just people reading the text that they wrote in the book. So it's more or less like a little event of the release of our magazine, of our issue. And this is the day that we sell the best of our selling, because we have a lot of people coming just for the book, and yes, so this is how basically we made our 4 issues, and hopefully we will do more. Thank you. Switching.
Bonsoir. Je m'appelle Noha Habaieb, je viens de Tunisie et je suis cofondatrice du magazine Lab 619. Là, je vais vous parler un petit peu de l'évolution de la bande dessinée en Tunisie à partir de la Révolution, parce que la date du 14 janvier, elle a marqué le début d'une nouvelle génération dans la bande dessinée en Tunisie. Donc ça a commencé le 14 janvier. Pendant les soirées de couvre-feu, il y avait des gens qui se sont connectés. Il y avait toutes les informations qui passaient le soir. Et aussi, il y avait des gens qui ont commencé à dessiner, des gens anonymes, et commençaient à poster leurs dessins sur Facebook. Et donc, après quelques mois, ça a donné pas mal de dessinateurs tunisiens, mais qui postaient sous un pseudonyme. Voilà. Celui-là, en fait, il y a pas mal... Il y en a pas mal d'entre eux qui ont persisté et qui sont... Aujourd'hui, ils ont sorti des livres de caricatures et certains, ils ont lâché petit à petit. Donc, les plus connus sont Z, qui aujourd'hui, il est toujours anonyme et il n'habite pas en Tunisie. Et il y a Willis from Tunis, qui est dessinatrice et aujourd'hui, elle a divulgué son nom, elle s'appelle Nadia Khiari et elle a publié trois livres de caricatures. Les dessinateurs qui ont apparu après la Révolution, en fait, il y a eu un animateur de radio qui a eu l'idée de nous rassembler dans un livre. Et c'était le premier collectif de dessinateurs tunisiens. Il s'appelait Bande de BD. Et on a sorti le premier livre qui parlait des premières révolutions, les premières élections en octobre 2011. Ce livre s'appelle Comique et ça regroupe 14 dessinateurs tunisiens. Mais ce livre-là, il était un peu cher par rapport aux Tunisiens. Ça coûtait à peu près 7 €. Et donc, après 2 ans, il s'est formé un autre collectif de 7 personnes et qui ont eu l'idée de faire un magazine de bande dessinée qui soit accessible aux gens et qui se vendait à 2 dinars, c'est-à-dire c'est moins d'1 €. Ce magazine, il est autogéré et autofinancé. Et les dessinateurs aussi sont autodidactes. Donc, ils sont aussi en apprentissage. Ils ont commencé avec la caricature et ils ont évolué petit à petit. Aujourd'hui, on est au 5e numéro. On sort à peu près 500 exemplaires par numéro. On a commencé par 1500 et maintenant c'est à 500 parce qu'on a du mal à faire la distribution du magazine. Donc ça s'est distribué principalement au Grand Tunis. Mais aussi on fait beaucoup d'activités. On fait des workshops pour enfants. On essaye de démocratiser la bande dessinée pour les enfants, par exemple, pour faire des workshops. Mais aussi, par exemple, dans cette image-là, c'était une formation pour les professeurs des lycées, les initier aussi à la bande dessinée pour l'utiliser dans les livres scolaires, par exemple, ou dans des exercices pour les enfants. Aussi, on fait à chaque sortie de numéro, on fait des séances de dédicaces pour vendre. Et aussi, on fait des actions dans la rue. Voilà. Ça, c'était pendant un festival de musique. Tout le collectif est parti faire des peintures murales sur les murs du festival. On fait aussi beaucoup de rencontres. Et dernièrement, on a eu le prix du meilleur magazine imprimé au festival du Caire de bande dessinée. Il y a eu aussi d'autres publications de bande dessinée qui sont autogérées, comme Kouskoussi Belban, apparu en 2012. C'est un magazine pour enfants. Cette publication du même auteur aussi, qui s'appelle Goodbye Ben Ali, il a fait 2 numéros aussi. C'est pas un magazine, c'est un livre, un petit livre. Et là, c'est une autre expérience. C'est un roman dessiné qui s'appelle Oblation, sorti en 2014, et il a eu un prix au Festival d'Alger de bande dessinée. Et aussi, il y a aussi d'autres initiatives comme Sobia, c'est un magazine en ligne. L'auteur, il publie des bandes dessinées en ligne dans son blog. Voilà, ce sont à peu près toutes les publications qui ont eu depuis 2011 en Tunisie. C'est tout. Non, c'est tout. Je veux pas. Oui.
Hello. My name is Shennawy, and I'm from Cairo, Egypt. And I'm presenting the magazine that we founded in 2011 with the title Tok Tok. Actually, the Tok Tok is this kind of transportation vehicle that you can find it a lot in the streets of Cairo, especially in the suburbs of Cairo where there's no public transportations. And it's kind of useful for people, and on the same time it's a little bit makes some troubles. So that's why we decided to use the same name for our magazine. So the magazine, Tok Tok magazine, the first issue, we founded the magazine in 2011, and the first issue came out only almost 2 weeks before the revolution. And it was founded by 5 artists, and it was one of the first magazines that was auto-published, and that was also named like one of the first magazines in Egypt also that was directed for the adults. The contents, from the beginning, the content was satiric subjects about everything, mainly about the society and the youth, the relationships between women and men and women, and also the economic and the political situation, especially after the revolution happened. And also it was, we were very, we decided from the beginning also that we will tell stories that happens in the Egyptian streets, especially in Cairo. Me, myself, for example, I decided to, I had this character, which is a publicity board, who was all the time in the street, so he can critique everything around him, and on the same time he works in advertising, but he hates it on the same time. So it was always an opportunity to draw all the details in the street and criticize also what was happening in Cairo at the time. Of course, the politics was a big part of the social life, and especially also because most of the artists in the magazine, they were caricaturists. They were doing a daily caricature in the newspapers. So a lot of the content in the magazine was kind of against the corruption, against the corrupted businessmen, as we can see here. They are playing with the economy of the country, football. And during also the revolution, especially in the first 2 weeks, we in the beginning of the revolution, actually we had a book signing in another city than Cairo. And when we came back, for example, we had a lot of troubles to come back to Cairo because of the clashes between the manifestors and the police. And for example, here the artist Andil, he decided to draw what happened for us during this trip. So it was basically the way going back to our home from the book signing day. Another other subjects also as well was criticizing what was happening, like what was the Egyptians thinking, or like a part of what was happening in the country. There was a lot of international subjects as well, but here, for example, it was about the terrorism, and the artist decided was criticizing it in a satirical way. That was the cover of the second issue that came out 2 weeks, maybe two or 3 weeks after the resigning of Mubarak, the former president of Egypt. And here, for example, it was there was another flip. I couldn't just show it here, and all the elements of the counter revolution, like the corrupted police, the corrupted businessmen, the media, and the thugs, who everyone was against actually the youth. And the other flip, there was a young guy with an arm that is written on it, Facebook. That was the only arm they had. Some of the artists here, for example, another artist, he was telling the story of Danny Le Rouge in French. He was one of the manifestors in the revolution in France, in Paris, to tell the story and to tell people how the readers how it was the history is repeating itself, and that the states are always making the same procedures to cut the revolutions concept. For example, during the presidential elections, here the artist he decided to imagine if he himself was a candidate to the position of president of the country. And of course, all what he was thinking about is like what the normal citizen is thinking about, like to eat a lot, to have a lot of women around him and a lot of money. But finally, he and at the end of the story, he couldn't candidate to this position because he was just under the age of 50 years. Of course, also during the revolution, the graffiti was a very important visual element in the scene. For example, here the artist and in the scenario they played on this aspect, but also with the rumors that was a lot of rumors were going on during the revolution. So they mixed both graffiti and this kind of rumors that everyone was trying to publish it. Sometimes in the magazine as well, there are like autobiography or stories that romantic or like a romance atmosphere, and it's also shows the relationships and also the conditions of the youth and how is it difficult to process, like get married and have like a family in Egypt. But others they believed in it and they actually drew a marriage. Here, for example, the artist also during the candidates he imitated the Smurfs. For each candidate, it was like each candidate related to one of the characters in the Smurfs. One is very lazy. The other one is like intellectual one, but we don't understand anything from him. So he was playing on both lines at the same time. And of course, the story was dedicated to Piyu, the creator of the Smurfs. I also was. I have done few stories about subjects like on the suburbs of Cairo and the city of garbage, where a lot of children and emergent people work there. Here, for example, it was a lady who was making a documentary about these guys, but actually, she was just making a film, and she won a prize. And it was only about taking photos with the guy who was in her film. We have also a page in the magazine about an artist, like a music group or an artist or a song, mainly from anywhere in the world. Here we had Amazigh Katib from Algeria, and also we try to translate one of his songs to get the readers know these kind of artists. Here, for example, it was Manu Chao, and the song was Clandestino. One of the stories, it tells how it take long to get the former president to resign, because it was actually a kind of bureaucracy. He signed the paper of resigning, but sometimes the sign was not clear, and then the employee, the employee, he was sending back his secretary to make the signature more clear, or the stamp to be more clear. And then in the future, the guy he tells his grandson that that's why it took 18 days. Because not all the comic artists are always funny in the real life. Here, for example, the artist, he showed how people can read some comics that could be funny, but the author, he hanged himself because he's depressed. There's always a page as well at the end of the magazine that shows one of the characters in the Egyptian society, and how like when we say parallel economy, that a lot of people, they just work on their own self, and they do produce a lot of stuff just to gain their life. There was also a story that was well known about a character that is called Super Mech, because the author, he draws himself, and he's called Makhlouf, so he made it like nickname for himself. And in the story, Santa Claus or Papa Noel, he comes to Cairo, but because he sees sexual harassment everywhere, so he got kind of influenced by this. And then he became crazy about girls, and he's following them everywhere. But then Super Mech appears, and then he gets rid of him. In another story, of course, here, for example, Andil, he was trying to show the brutality of the police, especially in the police stations, and how a policeman who's used to torture during the investigations, torture the prisoners. But once one of the prisoners, he actually just jumped from the window. He didn't touch it. But of course, because it's known that he had a black history, he couldn't prove that he didn't do anything this time. And here in this frame, he says that for the sake of human rights. It was also very known scene during the revolution and the manifestations. A motorcycle that was working like an Sha'bi ambulance, they called it, like a public ambulance instead of the ambulance of the state, because who was not cooperating with the protesters. So the people, they were actually using their own motorcycles as an ambulance. And another story, of course, still in the small streets of Cairo, and how the relation between women and a man and woman, and how the society actually sees this kind of relation, like the old man of this street who is not happy with a couple who are in love. And that also was another story that I made myself, that tells a little bit how the career life in Egypt or in Cairo is some kind of repeated. Everyone is doing the same thing, like they study, get married, buy a car, and at the end they don't feel related to their country and integrated in the society. And of course, there's always the police are presented in all the stories. Until now, we had 13 issues, and the next issue will be on the will come out next month. And this is the website, and the issues are online. Thank you very much. Lena, افتحني. No?
PowerPoint. Hi, thank you all for being here. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Lena Merhej, and I'm from Beirut, Lebanon. And I'm here to represent Samandal, the magazine that I edit with a few other of my colleagues. I will start by presenting you a little bit with my work. This is some of my latest work where I did a comic about people on the move, so becoming refugees after wars, and the situation of women in these contexts, showing how the woman is always the one that is carrying and continuing and resisting. So to tell you a little bit about the situation of comics in Lebanon, we had every decade we had a magazine that came for a few years, or a collective that published for a few years, and then something would happen. So it's a little bit like a hiccup. So before there was a magazine and a collective called Jad Workshop, who did something during the war. So it was in the 80s and in the end of the 80s. And they published this book, but also did many comics that were not published. And unfortunately, there are no archives of this. Also in the 2000s, after the war, when we thought, we have a future and things are going to change, there was a lot of popular culture that was pictured in this magazine, Zero. And it's like a satirical magazine on the new culture or new popular culture that came after the war, which was, new TV shows, the popularity of basketball and all of this. Today we can really say that things have gone much further, and comics in Lebanon are considered between literature and art. So you can see them, of course, in bookstores, in all the public libraries, and also in the galleries. So this is the work of Mazen Kerbej, who did some work with his mother, and they both showed their work in galleries since quite some time. There are also some online comics, so channels that are alternative to printing. So this is the superhero called Malak, and she is embodying the mountain and the sea from Lebanon, and fighting the jinns and the demons of the war. Whereas this is the work of Zina Abirashid. She has a small blog where she puts her experiences of every day. So this was how she was completely numb during the war. She didn't feel anything, and after some point, because one flower fell, she completely cracked and started crying. There are many experiences that are disparate, though, so they are distributed, nothing really concentrated yet. So there are some independent publishers like Mazen Kerbej. Also, a lot of Lebanese, or not a lot, but sometimes it's better to write in English or French, so that a wider audience, it reaches a wider audience, and also you can publish abroad. There are some experiences also with NGOs, so comic artists working for NGOs doing some different things. This was for women, empowering women for work harassment. And this is the work of Zaina Maya Zankoul, who worked with with the internet and the laws on the internet, and did also a blog about her situation in Lebanon. Much of the comics that are being done, although are around war, so we have quite a lot of, almost half of the production is or has some content about the war that has been lived when these authors were children, or notes from 2006, which was another war, and authors were kind of remembering what their experiences and reflecting on the war that they are living now. So Samandal, we started printing right after 2006 war, and it was in 2007, and it was a collective of illustrators and artists and graphic designers, so that we can have a space to show our work and to make comics. And we decided to print it in 3 languages, because in Lebanon we write in 3 languages, and have it open for contribution. So there was the situation was that there were many children's book illustrators, but not so many comics, and it was kind of to encourage people to try and to create a community of comic artists. So the first 15 issues printed, and I think established many new artists in comics in Lebanon, but also published things from abroad. So we published some works from Brazil, from France, from Belgium, so that we can also share the experience to the local community. Again, like I mentioned, this also a result of comics around the war. So these are a few pieces that are for different artists. This is the work of Mu'taz Sawaf. Today he has a big institution for comics in the Arab world, and he's quite supporting the comics there. And it's a piece that he made quite early, but we published in Samandal because it was out of print from his magazines, published much earlier. And it's about the triviality of violence, how basically the violence during the Civil War was so meaningless. Again, this is the work of Jana Trabulsi. Like she basically plays a lot with the pages and with the spaces, while invoking the many displacement that she had to live, and the many houses where they went fleeing the war. Whereas here, for instance, this is more poetic. It's the work of Mazen Kerbej. He illustrates a poem of an invasion. So there's a kind of a parade of all the armament that are arriving to Lebanon during 2006. This is my work. It's about my mother, who came to Lebanon right before the war and lived it. So it's a reflection on how a foreign woman or an expat lives in a country where there's war, how she raises her children, and how she manages to integrate in the society. Samandal, because we have design background, we've had also many interesting experiments. One of the experiments was the flippy page. So these are 2 examples. It's a page that helps the reader shift from Latin to Arabic. So because we have a design problem where we have 2 different directions of reading, the Arabic from left to right, and the French right? Yes, the opposite. So instead of cutting the book in 2 and having the Arabic start and the Latin start, we wanted to mix them. And for that, we had to create a page that tells the author to flip the magazine completely. And by flipping, then you would continue in the same direction. So this is a record player that of Cairophone that tells you to flip it. And also, this is another example where, things are happening in this direction, so read in this way. And then suddenly there's a character here that tells you to flip the page. I see this more like these pages are like negotiating between the languages, but also the possibility or the potential for artists to create in these spaces are also negotiating, or could also negotiate culture or opposite feelings or anything that is binary. In Samandal, we've done a lot of workshops, different events, participating in different things. So a lot of things are experimental in comics, like a comics jam or like remixing comics. Fortunately, today we can say after 15 issues, we have a community. So we created a new kind of books, which are like anthologies. We ask an editor to publish a book, and this was one of the examples. It's the issue before the last, and it's called Genealogy, and it's about the influence of artists across geography, but also across history. So Samandal today has 15 issues. We've published 4 books. We also did some small zines with collaborating with different artists in Europe. A lot of contributions by many artists, and some of them are serial comics. We've done also events, so every time we have a launch, we have an event, because this kind of builds the community. Everybody comes, we party, we sign, we draw, we talk. And also we've got, like you, some awards. I think that comics is a great way today to have a space that we couldn't find in 2006. This is the work of Mazen Kerbej in 2006. It felt like really the country was stuck between 2 big groups, those who were with Hezbollah and they were considered extremists by the others, and those who were with the states. And so it really felt like this guy who was saying, can I say something? And there was no space to be kind of to breathe. So unfortunately, this is a piece that I've done yesterday during the residency, and it shows kind of what happened with Samandal recently with the magazine. There was someone who complained about us that we were, doing some kind of blasphemy, and the government basically gave us a very big punishment to pay a lot of money. You can find more details about this on this website. So we have like a statement, and there's the comics that I made, like a response to what happened. This is the link. So thank you very much, and thank you.
Thank you. Gracias a todos. Yo creo que como Lena ha acabado con este tema que es bastante importante, que es la censura no la censura, sino la denuncia que ha habido, y es algo que también que en cierta manera es algo que continuamente pasa en relación al dibujo. Además, en España tenemos como también una experiencias recientes alrededor de la prensa satírica. La revista El Jueves, que es la que tiene más tirada, pues recientemente, en el 2014, por los dibujantes, por negarse hubo una censura, es una portada que iba a aparecer, en la que aparecía el rey, y finalmente lo que es la editorial se negó a publicar esa portada, y como 14 dibujantes, digamos, como que se fueron de la revista. Un caso más atrás, en el 2007, hubo un caso de una portada en la que también se representaba al rey, y hubo el rey, al príncipe y la princesa en un acto practicando el coito, y la revista fue secuestrada y tuvieron que pagar los dibujantes. Finalmente fueron a juicio y tuvieron que pagar cada uno como 3.000 euros de multa, o sea que es por esos temas de representación. Y más recientemente aquí ha habido en el museo un caso también de censura bastante notorio. Quería, recogiendo lo que ha sucedido en Samandal, no sé los otros si habéis experimentado también. Yo he estado refrescando un poco lo que es las revistas, las que conocía, muchas cosas no conocía. Tok Tok es quizá la que más conozco, más cercano he tenido. También porque online hay colgados como 5 números que he podido como... Y viendo los números sí que he visto como que el segundo número, por ejemplo, me pareció fantástico, reflejando todo lo que es el proceso de una manera muy clara, la revolución de una manera muy viva. Sí, en los números posteriores, y eso también lanzó al resto de participantes. ¿En qué manera la evolución de lo que ha sido la revolución, lo que ha pasado después, la situación actual, cómo esto, en cierta manera, ha podido afectar a la producción? Esto te lo lanzo a ti, Shennawy, porque es también quien tenéis más números publicados, tenéis 16, y habéis podido ir evolucionando un poco y viendo... 14, perdón.
I think one of the most important things during the revolution that I will not listen to myself because people were drawing banners in the square, Tahrir Square, and on the same time, young people were doing graffiti on the walls. People were sharing photos on Facebook and on the social media. So basically, all the readers and the young generation, they came back to the visual culture, and I think this helped a lot Tok Tok to be more recognized and more appreciated by the readers. And of course, once we had more readers and more people are encouraging us and reading what we do, we continued to publish the magazine and also kept the hot spirit, you know. I mean, we had a lot of reactions for the things or stories are telling what was happening in the street during the revolution, for example, things that were not mainly said in the media. You know, it was kind of stories shared between young. So that's why, and starting from this level, we wanted to be always on the same level and even more and more. And the continuity also was an important thing to be. To be always up to date with this with the readers, and that was then a very important thing.
Okay. I don't know because I don't know so well Lab 614. You have now four numbers.
Yes.
4 numbers. So how has been the reaction? Has you been some bad reactions to the content, because it's also like satirical and some quite critical content? Have you received some reaction in terms of, I know you self-published but probably some people is talking not in a good way about what you're doing. I don't know. Also.
Pour les réactions, pour le moment, elles ont toutes été positives. Il y a des gens qui veulent participer, il y a des gens qui viennent, qui demandent les numéros à chaque fois, si on fait un retard ou quoi, ils le demandent. C'est plutôt une communauté de jeunes, mais je pense que puisqu'on n'est pas bien distribué, donc on n'a pas assez de retours par rapport à ce qu'on fait. Donc je pense qu'il faut encore distribuer pour avoir le maximum de... Oui, au moins, oui. Mais on n'a pas, pour le moment, on n'a pas reçu... Pourtant, on a critiqué les politiciens, on a parlé de sujets sensibles, on a essayé de voir jusqu'où on peut aller. Pour le moment, on n'a rien eu, donc on avance.
Con Skefkef lleváis 4 números y también hay bastante contenido crítico en Skefkef, ¿no? Sí.
Yes, we actually the content of our magazines it does not really specialize in a specific thing. We talk about a lot of subjects, and it's because before we start making our magazine, we get together and decide what will be the next theme that we will be discussing. So for the first one, we were talking about Casablanca, and the second one it was cyberspace and the freedom in cyberspace. So it does not really reflect what's going on in the region, but it's a subject that we want to discuss. We want to inform people maybe more about it, and until now I don't think we had any problem while discussing anything, even if we talked about politics, and it's a little bit sensible in our country, but I don't think we had any problems yet, and fingers crossed, I hope we will not.
Por otro lado, bueno, remarcar que realmente estamos ante 4 revistas que cada una tiene una historia bastante diferente, en el sentido de que desde Samandal, que empieza en 2007 y ya tiene un núcleo, trabaja en una zona y tiene un núcleo de lectores más amplio. Eso también hace que sea más visible, que lleve más tiempo, que la gente la conozca más. Tok Tok, que realmente surge en 2011, pero que no ha parado de publicar y que va estableciendo como una masa crítica de lectores y de productores. Y luego Skefkef, que lleva 2 años, 3 años, y creo el Lab 614 también lleva 3 años, ¿no? Vale. Un poco ahí os quería preguntar sobre cómo veis la evolución de esa producción, o el asentamiento porque yo, Tok Tok va a ser que es lo más sigo, pues de repente ya hay un festival de cómic en el Cairo, no para de haber la voluntad de continuar publicando, de hacer. He visto, investigando, yo cuando estuve en el Cairo, pues no había apenas cómic independiente, y la experiencia más concreta era la edición de una novela gráfica que se llamaba Metro, y había sido, nada más salía, había sido secuestrada, y el autor había sido, pues eso, denunciado, había habido un problema grave con esa revista. Pero de repente, como que ahora mismo, buscando, he visto que han aparecido varias revistas nuevas. He visto que había Garage, ¿no?, que es una revista nueva, pero hay otras revistas que están apareciendo. No sé si siguiendo el modelo de Tok Tok, no sé si... bueno, no lo sé. Hay muchas más revistas que están apareciendo, ¿verdad?
Yes. Leave this. I'm one of the organizers of the Cairo Comics Festival that took place last September, and me personally, I was amazed how many, even if it's still small, but how many publications and people who are trying to self-publish actually, either if they are artists themselves or someone who is leading a group of artists. So I think that I would say that I would claim that the continuity of the production of Tok Tok made, and also the loyal readers of it, I think it made the readers and the other artists say that it could be, and even it's not a big industry, but it could be something that they can rely on and at least get the project going on, and get their drawings and their stories read. So and it's very important also that it's something that marks this generation, that it's most of it is self-published, and then I find this kind of reflects what's also happening in the country. You know, the people are not related to the government or the state with any mean, I guess. So I think that with the time, these kind of things will develop a lot. For example, the graphic novel Metro that was confiscated back in 2008. Now it was translated to English, French, and Italian, and German as well, not French. And the Arabic version also was republished, and the launch of it was during the festival. So I think now, once it came, this art came back. I mean, people are recognize it back. We will have a lot of more and more of products, and more of inside this flow of products. We will have a lot of good and bad things. So we are hopefully it will get better.
Okay, how do you see, like, in each case, cada caso, el futuro ideal de producción y de distribución y de posibilidad de lectura, el escenario ideal? ¿Cómo lo veis?
Well, at this point we are at our fifth number and our fifth issue, and we don't just want to keep on making issues and printing them and selling them. Actually, we want to provoke an industry maybe in Morocco, so that we don't have only Skefkef in Morocco, but we will have a lot of publications and a lot of magazines, and that's why in the next issue we will print the fifth issue, and we will produce an artist. So we will take his. We will get. It's like a grant. We will grant him some money so that he can make 500 copies of his own work. It's like carte blanche for this artist, so he can make whatever he wants and print it, and maybe afterwards he can look for sponsoring, or he can go to publishers in Morocco and he can show them I have this book, I have it published, it's selling well, and so maybe you can help me now, or you can help publish my stuff. So this is the next step for us. Maybe this will, as I said, will provoke an industry in Morocco, and yeah. So this is the plan for the medium range.
Pour nous, il y a beaucoup de choses à améliorer. D'abord, la périodicité, c'est-à-dire le magazine sort une fois tous les 4 mois, 6 mois, 1 an. Donc on n'arrive pas à être périodique et régulier dans les sorties du magazine. On veut aussi que le magazine soit distribué dans toute la Tunisie. Donc il faut trouver des solutions pour ça sans que la société qui fait la distribution prenne un pourcentage jusqu'à 40% du prix du magazine, alors qu'il se vend à rien du tout. Donc la distribution, et aussi on veut former des dessinateurs au dessin, au découpage, à la bande dessinée, aussi aux scénarisations. On veut les former aussi à l'histoire de la bande dessinée. Donc tout ça, ça va venir, j'espère. Il faut trouver des financements et tout ça. Et puis à l'échelle internationale, avoir accès à la bande dessinée étrangère, que ce soit arabe ou européenne ou américaine, et tout ça. Voilà, c'est ça le but pour le moment. Si tu veux.
Pour ajouter à mes collègues, je pense que I agree with most of the points that they have raised. I think definitely we need a market. It's still not there, and it's kind of impossible for us publishers who are also artists to distribute or to think of distribution strategies. But that's why we are here, to kind of think about it. Still, we didn't reach real concrete solutions. It's more like ideas at this point. Yes, I mean, I think that we definitely have a lot of stories in our part of the world to share. I think that opportunities to have opportunities for artists to publish anywhere, periodicals or for children, or I mean anywhere, there is a potential, but there is no market. So I mean, this is really the thing that is quite tight. In the case of Samandal, I mean, you've seen what has been done, and at this point it's to continue with these conditions and to see how we can push it. There is not really a law that says, you know, you cannot draw this or you cannot draw that. It's more, I would call it by chance, or a trivial thing that we have to test, and so continue also to work so that we can share the stories that we want to share.
Et puis aussi créer peut-être des métiers autour de la bande dessinée. C'est-à-dire le dessinateur, par exemple dans le magazine, je suis dessinatrice et je me retrouve à faire le travail de gérance, aller chez l'imprimeur. Il y a tout un travail que je ne sais pas faire à la base, et puis j'apprends à le faire et je dois le faire. Donc peut-être... je sais pas, il faut créer d'autres métiers qui peuvent renforcer le collectif.
Yo también creo que está sucediendo. Bueno, pasa que primero vienen las revistas con los autores, y luego vienen las obras individuales, ¿no? Y tiene que ver con la madurez conforme avanza una escena, conforme eso acaba, tiene que ver también con cómo ha cambiado la manera en que se recibe el cómic, ¿no? De las revistas ha pasado a lo que es la novela gráfica, y eso ha supuesto pues otro tipo de distribución o un tipo de trabajo acabado o de un tipo de lectura concreta que, de cierta manera, sí que el mercado ahora a nivel internacional sí que parece más dispuesto a entender más lo que es la publicación, la novela gráfica, que no la revista, ¿no? Esto, no sé hasta qué punto la gente está empezando a producir, pues eso, ¿no? Obras completas, obras, digamos, con ese formato. No sé, Shennawy, yo estoy esperando tu novela gráfica, por ejemplo.
Me also. Yes, I would say that it's an industry that in Egypt, for example, it's not very organized, if you want. So you can't really get an advance from a publishing house to stay 1 year or even 6 months working on your own story without trying to get your life by doing an illustration here and then advertising there. But if me personally, I have the passion, so I have to do this. You know, I have to like it's kind of you save a little bit of money so you can stay this period to get your own project done, and this is what I'm willing to do starting next year.
Okay. Lena, creo que tú has publicado ya alguna novela gráfica, algún libro, y está siendo traducido, ¿verdad? O vas ahora a Marsella a presentarlo, ¿no? Me parece, algo así, creo.
Yes, I think that Noha, what she said about periodicals, that we need periodicals, that's very important.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was able to, I mean, it's the same situation like Shennawy. There's no time, there's no organization. So to have a magazine where I can print something, self-talk, where I can print something every few months, do some research, take distance, also get some feedback was very important so that I can complete a book. So yes, I completed it finally after several chapters. I added a few and I created this in 2011, and like you said, it will be out in Marseille in French next week.
Je pense que le rêve de tout dessinateur de bande dessinée, c'est de sortir son album ou son livre. Quand je suis rentrée en Tunisie, après des études en Belgique, je suis allée voir des éditeurs. Et les éditeurs me disaient, moi je ne suis pas prêt à investir dans la bande dessinée, ça ne rapporte pas de l'argent, ni en illustration jeunesse. Donc c'est pour ça qu'en Tunisie, il n'y a aucune publication artistique, disons. Et donc, pour faire un album BD, je pense que ça va prendre beaucoup de temps si c'est autogéré et autofinancé. En plus, il faut trouver un scénariste. J'écris pas les scénarios. Je pense que ça va prendre quelques années. Voilà.
Pour moi, for me, as I said, there is a method that we are making to do with Skefkef. It's each issue we publish an artist, a different artist, and probably I will be the second artist to be published. And I'm actually working on my album, and it's going to be probably published in March or April. So it's also something that I'm working on, so I can prove to myself that I can do something like this, because I know I can draw, but I don't know if I can handle an album. So it's a proof. So I'm proving something for myself and for the public probably. So yeah, in March or April I will release my first album. Yeah.
Well, I could continue asking, but it's somebody. Hay alguien en el público que quiere que se anime a preguntar alguna cosa, ¿vale? Bueno, yo quería preguntar también, claro, a partir de la conferencia hubo una presentación sobre el martes pasado en el ISABA y salió, bueno, a mí me hay un tema que es el tema del lenguaje, que estamos hablando de cómic árabe y en apariencia que pensamos que están compartiendo el lenguaje, pero cada ciudad y cada publicación pues publica en diferentes, o sea, publica en árabe, pero publica en árabe coloquial. Y eso hace que muchas veces, no todos, a veces Samandal sí que traduce, pues hace 3 idiomas, pero Tok Tok es en árabe de Egipto, ¿no? Y lo mismo pasa con el Lab 614. Y entonces, esa idea del cómic árabe de repente es una cosa mucho más compleja, o sea, que no es compartir el lenguaje, realmente es algo mucho más complejo. Entonces, nada, era un poco, quería lanzarle la palabra, la pregunta a Sala también, porque es quien ha organizado todo esto. ¿Qué es el cómic árabe entonces, no? O sea, realmente se comparten muchas cosas, es algo cultural, pero luego cómo fluye, se puede, lo digo partiendo de alguien esta pregunta, de alguien que no habla árabe y que no lee árabe, ¿cuáles son los problemas de traducción, que se pueden producir a la hora de juntar, pues, 4 personas de diferentes lugares que tienen, bueno, que escriben diferente o que hablan diferente, ¿no?
Actually, maybe the combination of all the magazines, we can call it something like an Arabic comics, but we don't share a lot of stuff. It's basically we share the process or maybe the origins of each magazine, but we don't share the same language. So it's like we have different dialects. So each issue or each magazine has a different dialect. So we are common just in the process and that we are self-published and we don't have sponsors or anything. So the experience we have the same, but the content and the language it's a bit different, and it's because I think it's the goal of every one of us. It's that we concentrate on the local market and our countries, and because it's easier to approach. If we start with the aim of selling to the whole Arab world, we may get lost and maybe we won't continue. So the local market is a little bit easier, and that's where we grow. So that's what we know how to handle, and maybe once we get going and we get a lot of following, maybe we can export our experience to outer countries. And actually, as he said in the festival, Cairo Comics, we were able to sell all the copies that were brought with us, even if it was in the Moroccan dialect. And the Moroccan dialect is difficult to understand in Egypt, but it was something that is possible. So Samandal can be sold in Morocco. Skefkef, Tok Tok can be sold in Tunisia. So the exportation of these experiences is already possible. So I think it's it's possible for all of us to share the markets that we have.
Il a tout résumé.
I would just add something, very small thing, that comic strips are it's part of the pop culture. It's like the songs, like the films, like everything that people get attached to it. And for example, I don't know, here or even in Cairo during the 70s, 60s and 70s, the music came from the States and Britain. That was in English. I don't think that everyone was understanding what was happening in the songs, but it was something that everyone, got attached to the drawings, the music. And then if you are really passionate about it, you will get to know more. And that's how it works, I guess.
In fact, do you think, pensáis que en cierta manera, no lo sé, esto sí que hay una, se comparte hay cierto, no lo sé, y esto cuando investigué un poquito en su momento, hay unas lecturas comunes, pues por ejemplo, en los 80 las publicaciones que hubo, que venían que se producían en el Líbano y se se exportaban a Marruecos bueno, a otras partes del mundo árabe. O, por ejemplo, Majid, por ejemplo, ¿no? Como una revista no sé si habéis leído todos, o vuestra influencia viene de otros muchos lugares. No sé si hay algo también de, digamos, un pasado de publicaciones en árabe que compartís, o no lo sé, pregunto.
Well, we've read the same magazines when we were children, yes. I think that at this point we are talking about general audience material, so comics for an older audience. So it's also following a global movement of comics starting from the 80s with Scott McCloud and Joe Sacco with Palestine. I think definitely there are challenges, but also it's normal that we see that in each magazine there is a diversity. I think that even if our themes are not common with Morocco, the magazine itself with each author, they are dealing with different issues. I think in general the didactic comics are kind of lost. We don't want them. It's not lessons that we want to write or morality. We want to write about stories of our everyday. We want to speak about the problems that we encounter, try to see also how we can identify with this with other people, which by itself creates a lot of diversity. Right?
That's the essence of independent comics, no? That's
yes.
the thing, no?
And about the language, I mean, also there are many different use of language, many different levels of use when you are working with a comic. So the narrator's voice, the dialogue, but also often, and this was a movement that started because there was a lack of Arabic fonts on the computer. So everybody was writing Latin, but the Arabic meaning, the Arabic pronunciation, like phonetics. And also, I mean, this is also another thing that people in comics, maybe in your magazines as well, but in Samandal that played with it. So like texting in Latin, so they would write it also in Arabic, to speak Arabic kind of in the magazines.
Okay, Mehdi.
Bueno, yo personalmente por el conocimiento que puedo tener del cómic en vuestros contextos y más profundamente en el contexto turco, pues yo pienso que en efecto no hay un cómic árabe, sino que hay un cómic en lengua árabe, ¿no? Que es diferente. Es como decir que hay un cómic americano o un cómic europeo. Pues está claro que sería decir demasiado, ¿no? Porque todas estas raíces que están relacionadas con lo territorial en realidad son muy vastas, ¿no? Están llenas de un montón de singularidades. Lo que sí que, por ejemplo, con respecto al cómic turco, puedo ver que coincide con los países que representáis cada uno de vosotros, sí que es pues esa necesidad de expresaros a través de una serie de publicaciones que normalmente son baratas, que son autoproducidas, que no tienen también publicidad y que siempre tratan de un humor, como decía Mehdi, un humor muy local, ¿no? Es decir, o unas temáticas que tienen que ver mucho con el propio país. Entonces, en relación a esto, quería preguntaros, precisamente por curiosidad, ¿no? Si conocéis también toda la tradición de revistas de humor satírico turcas que se van desarrollando desde los años 20, como podría ser pues, Penguin o Uykusuz, Lehman, todo este tipo de revistas que realmente sí que pueden marcar un cierto modelo, ¿no? De cara a la distribución y la producción de humor gráfico en un país.
I wouldn't say you wanted to answer.
I mean, I'm familiar because as Lebanese, we visit quite often Turkey, and I've been several times to Istanbul to see the magazines. Unfortunately, I could not read them. So I mean, from what I saw is Yes, a lot of satirical cartoons, quite close to the French tradition of Spirou. But also, it makes me think now that also in the Arab world, the caricature is very big. This is the first job that you have as an illustrator, particularly if you are working for an adult audience. I think the history of caricature is much bigger than comics in the Arab culture, in the Arab countries.
Yes, in Morocco, comics are most probably looked at as caricature, and so when they say a book of comics, they automatically call it caricature, because that was the form that was more popular in Morocco, and it's the one that is used in newspapers. So people only know that, and also they consider comics as something for kids. So we have a little struggle that we are trying to create a new market. It's selling comics, but to adult people, and that's we are facing some minor problems with that, because it's a cultural thing. We grew up reading comics, so basically comics were for kids, and caricature is for adults. But now we are switching it, and it's hard to deal with.
¿Hay alguien quiera preguntar algo?
If you don't understand Spanish.
Yo tengo curiosidad. Bueno, la residencia... A ver, un momento. La residencia se celebra con la finalidad también de que podáis entre vosotros pues intercambiar algunas estrategias con respecto a la producción y distribución de cómic y de historieta y humor gráfico. Y entonces tendría la pregunta primero de cómo se está produciendo ese intercambio entre vosotros, entre recursos que utilizáis o que empleáis en vuestras escenas. Y también, ayer sé que tuvisteis un encuentro con la Asociación de Ilustradores de Cataluña, con el ACPIC, que son profesionales, ¿no? Y qué tal fue el encuentro de ayer, y si de ese encuentro también pudisteis deducir algo que os sea útil, o todo lo contrario, les pudisteis también a ellos transmitir a la escena local de aquí, a la escena de profesionales de aquí, les pudisteis transmitir alguna idea buena para ellos.
So far what we've been doing is exactly this. So brainstorming and talking about the different processes of our production. We kind of worked on a fanzine about this. So each one took a role to describe one part of the process. We got some ideas for the distribution, but also the realization that we are not distributors. We cannot be, so it's more like to invite people to become our distributors, or to have the idea that there's this knowledge, that there's this production, and this needs a market. What was the other question? And yesterday, the meeting with the artist, actually it was great to meet an association, to see that an association can do a lot for illustrators and to preserve the right, but also to create different events that are not dependent of foreign or of funding in general. So it's like self-generated, which is really interesting, because they are doing 3 events a year with festivals or different conventions. So yes.
I guess we were sharing also the same. I guess by speaking with most of the illustrators, for example, I guess that we shared also the same kind of worries that an independent artist can face. You know, you have to live, you have to win your life. I mean, to gain your daily life money, and on the same time, you have to fulfill your talent and your artistic aspect. So it was a little bit the same thing that we shared, and also it was great to exchange see each other's work.
Oui, c'était pratique dans le sens où, sur des questions pratiques, c'est-à-dire, par exemple, on a posé la question comment fixer un prix pour un travail, comment ça se fixe pour un client, quels sont les statuts d'un illustrateur ou un dessinateur de bande dessinée, est-ce que ça existe, est-ce que ça n'existe pas, quel pourcentage on paye pour l'État, des choses plus pratiques. Et c'est vrai que quand c'est en association, ça facilite beaucoup de choses et on a une idée plus claire sur ce qui se passe en Espagne, mais aussi dans les autres pays européens. Voilà. Et pour la distribution, on a pensé à un truc hier. C'était, par exemple, si la valeur de Samandal, c'est 20 €, moi, je vais donner 20 numéros de Lab 619 et en échange, sans argent. C'est-à-dire, comment ça s'appelle ? En troc. Voilà. Ça peut être une solution pour commencer.
Also, we talked a little bit about the possibility to start to distribute it online. We already do this because we are a project under Creative Commons. So once we release a new issue, we publish the old one for free on the website. So and we talked about this distribution online. So maybe we can, instead of sending the hard copy, maybe we can start sending just the digital copy, and it will cost less, and it will be accessible for everyone everywhere. So maybe this will be useful for us in the future.
El procedimiento, porque todos tenéis vuestra página web, creo. Hay alguna que se ha caído, me parece. Pero, ¿qué procedimiento? Porque no he podido consultar yo todo, o sea, todos los números, por ejemplo. ¿Tenéis algún procedimiento? ¿Cuándo subís el número? ¿Una vez se ha vendido o ya se ha sacado en papel? ¿Cuánto tiempo tardáis? Por ejemplo, Tok Tok, yo no sé, creo que tenéis subidos 5, me parece, ¿no? No sé si los tenéis subidos todos o no lo sé. Y Samandal están subidos también, ¿no? Algunos, ¿verdad?
For Tok Tok, yes, the first we have 14 until now. The first 5 issues are available online for free, and now also we cooperated with an online platform for online publishing, and they published until the last issue. But it's for sale. It's very cheap, but we decided to make it with a price.
And what is the name of the platform?
It's called Kotobna, KOTOBNA.com.
Mm-hmm.
Like it means our books.
We are also publishing under Creative Commons, so our magazines ideally should be online to be remixed or worked with. We had for a long time 3 issues with their translation online. Yes, unfortunately, we have some kind of a management problem with the website. So now we have it on this samandalcomics.org. If it's not there, it should be there in the next month. So all the magazines should be able to be downloadable. Yes. I mean, we are non-profit, so we make money from the sales of the magazine itself, and we believe that it's to share what we have. So this is why we have it open source.
And now it's not. It's possible to read. It's possible leer online.
On a publié le premier numéro en ligne.
Okay.
Mais on n'a pas encore publié les autres. Ça va venir normalement.
Preparando, no sé si Sala, que igual, sí, hay una fundación, hay una página web que preparando bueno, lo de hoy, que se llama, no sé si la conocéis, Fundación Alfanar, que es una fundación española que se dedica a traducir y a hacer eco en castellano de todo lo que está sucediendo en el mundo. Bueno, el mundo del cómic árabe independiente.
La exposición
Han hecho una exposición y... Sí. No, bueno, no, que no lo desconocía hasta que no me he puesto. Estáis en contacto, me imagino, ¿no? Porque creo que es muy importante traducir. A mí, claro, yo no puedo leer entonces es muy importante, de repente veo... lo bueno que tiene el cómic es que te ponen los dientes largos, ves el dibujo, ves que la narrativa, y dices, aquí está pasando algo, te está contando cosas interesantísimas, pero haría falta como completarla, ¿saben? Pudiendo leer lo que pone. Está bien tener algún amigo árabe que te lo haga, pero como a veces Sala no está aquí siempre, entonces estaría bien. La traducción creo que es algo muy importante y de repente descubrir esta fundación que se dedica a traducir, pues es que es ideal. Y en el formato digital poder subir de alguna manera todos esos cómics, no todos, porque también es importante generar ese intercambio de lo físico y el intercambio también económico, ¿no? Porque también es lo que hace que las cosas continúen, ¿no? Pero que es importante también, pues eso, llegar a más públicos a través de la traducción, que eso creo que es muy importante. Y yo creo que he visto aquí que había editores, ¿no? ¿Que algún editor ha venido y igual ya se han ido? Sí, están a Papa, que seguro que estarían súper interesados en alguno de vosotros. Pero que bueno, que es importante hoy en día que estamos en un mundo global también, ¿no? Como la rapidez con que las cosas se hacen, se colgan online, se traducen o se las traducen porque de repente hay una comunidad de fans que se dedica a traducir, como pasa con el cómic japonés, y llegan a un lugar y si en ese lugar alguien lo lee y decide publicarlo en otro idioma. Creo que es muy interesante que eso se produzca y que suceda. No sé, ¿tenéis alguna preguntilla más por ahí? No, bueno. Pues lo dejamos aquí. Muchas gracias a todos y nada, hasta la próxima.